The next concept that we are going to understand is a subquery. Okay, so what is subquery? Okay, so subquery is nested query. So just like you had seen in Excel if and nested if. Okay, so you have subquery as a nested query within another query. So you have a query which we call as the outer query. Okay, so outer query is the outside query and subquery is the inside query, and subquery is also called as inner query. So inner query is nested inside the outer query. So you have inner query is nested inside the outer query, right? Now outer query could be select, delete, insert, update, anything, right? Inner query typically we have select. So inner queries are typically select. Okay, it can have aggregate function also. Okay, outer queries can be any of this. Okay, now typically most of the time you will find that inner query is independent of outer query. Okay, however there are certain cases where inner query can be dependent on the outer query, and those queries are called as correlated subqueries. Okay, this we will see it in the later part of our course. Okay, like in the summer. Okay, so we are not covering the correlated subquery as of now in this boot camp. Right? Now, what are the operators in the subquery? The operators you can use, let's say outer query you can have, and then you can say greater than, you can say select salary, select average, you can have greater than, less than, equal to. Okay, you can have in, you can have not in also. Right? So in means when you have more than one, when one you are going to use equal to, more than one you are going to use in. More than one means more than one output, more than one row of the subquery. Okay, and you can have not in. Right? Typically in a correlated queries you will have use exist and not exist. Okay, note that this exist means whether this exists or not. So whether it is existing means true if it exists, otherwise it is false. So it typically returns boolean. Okay, right? Now an example of this is list. Let's say find the list of all the students, okay, whose total credit, who have taken total credit greater than the average credit. So this is a very typical requirement, right? I want to know all the instructors whose salary is greater than the average salary. I want to know all the professors who teach more credit, more hours than the average, right? So I want to have all the students who have taken total credit more than the average, right? So how do we write? So please understand there is two queries. Okay, there will be first query that will give you the average. Okay, and then there will be second query, okay, wherein you are going to print student name or all the details of the student, select star, okay, from student, where you can say total credit is greater than the average, right? So think about it. First query you are running to get some average value. Okay, the second query you are running to find out the total credit greater than the average. Right? Now in SQL you can't store this. Okay, there are methods, but as of now you can't store the result of a query. So you have to include this inside this. Okay, so let's see how it is done. Okay, very simple. Okay, so this is your first query, which is your subquery. So select average total credit from the student. This is your inner query, and this is your outer query. So please understand, if you had this data, let's say suppose this is 60, you could have easily run this. Select this from total credit greater than 60. That means these two are independent. So it is not a correlated subquery. Right? Now, but because in SQL we can't store this value, so you have to write like this. Okay. So let's run this and see what is the response we get. So see, we have got, these are the students who have got greater than the average. So we have to we want to know what is the average. So let's see, I want to know what is the average. Okay. So average is 65.69. Okay, let's go to console, and okay, instead of this I could have run 62, assuming, okay, I would have got similar answer, but we cannot store that 62. So that's why we have to write a subquery here. Okay, so this will give you 62 value and this will give you, right? So that way you can write a subquery. Right? Now in subqueries you can have many things. Okay, so here you can have, let's say, okay, I will show you like this. Typically it can be done using join also. So let's say select star from students where, okay, department underscore name is equal to department underscore name in this, and we say select department underscore name from instructors where instructor name, let's say we have instructor name, we have the column, right? So I want to know, let's say some instructors will be there. So let's see, open here. So there are some instructor. We want to know, let's say instructor name is starting with E. So where is instructor name like E percentage. Okay. So what we are getting here, see, try to understand. This query will give you select department name from instructor where name like E. All the department, those instructors whose name are like this, and those department I would get the student. So just see, and we run it. Okay. So please note that there are two departments, physics and history. So you can see E physics and history. Okay, and we will get all the students who are belonging to physics and history department, right? Because this query will give you, what is the output of this? It will be history and physics. And here we have said that where department name in. Why we have to use in? Because it is resulting in more than one row. Okay, you could not have written equal to. Okay, if we write it, let's see what is the error that we will get. So we'll say equal to. Okay, and we say go. Okay, right? So see that it says that the subquery, it returns more than one row. Since it returns more than one row, I cannot use equal to, so I have to use in. Okay. Also you can use not in. Not in is exactly same as not equal to. So not in. Okay, so now let's see. So we'll get all the other students who are coming from other departments, right? So subquery you can use these operators, greater than, less than, equal to, in, not in, all this you can use, right? Okay, so thank you. This completes this session. Go watch these videos, try to run this query, and think about where these queries can be used apart from the example which I have given.